Good evening. It's Tuesday, the 4th of November, and here's what's making news around the world on World News Tonight. Disaster impact. Typhoon Karmagi unleashes torrential rains, flooding streets and uprooting thousands. Eastern offensive. Russian forces push deeper into the ruins of Pokrovsk after months of siege. Social reform. New Mexico launches America's first ever universal childcare program.
From Colombo, this is World News Tonight with Amarsha Fernando.
Good evening and thank you for joining us on World News Tonight on our Derana News channel. The central Philippines is reeling Typhoon Karmagi, known locally as Tino, made landfall with sustained winds up to 150 kilometers per hour and gusts beyond 200 kilometers per hour. One person has died so far as floodwaters submerged vehicles and storm surges swept through towns in the Visayas region, including Cebu province.
Typhoon Karmagi struck earlier today, making landfall in southern Leyte before barreling across the Visayas Islands such as Cebu and Negros Occidental. Officials reported sustained winds of about 150 kilometers per hour with gusts up to 205 kilometers per hour and warned of storm surges reaching over 3 meters long, low-lying coastal areas. Flooding became severe in towns like Talisay City and parts of Cebu City. Homes were submerged up to their roofs and residents were forced onto rooftops for rescue. As the storm approached, tens of thousands of residents in coastal and flood-prone areas were evacuated. Officials reported more than 150,000 people moved to safer ground. Over 160 flights were cancelled in the Visayas, and maritime travel halted in many seaports, and power outages were widespread in areas like southern Leyte. The archipelago typically faces around 20 tropical cyclones each year and was recovering from a 6.9 magnitude earthquake in September in the Cebu area. With Karmagi adding flooding, strong winds, and potential landslides or volcanic mudflows, authorities are racing to mobilize disaster response teams and assess damage across disaster-prone regions.
A Romanian construction worker has died in Rome after being trapped under the rubble of the medieval Torre de Conte, which partially collapsed during the restoration near the Colosseum. Rescue teams worked for hours amidst further structural collapses before he was extracted and later pronounced dead. Italian authorities have launched a negligence investigation.
Rescuers sifting through rubble to save a worker trapped, caught in a cloud of debris. The medieval tower in the heart of Rome had already partially collapsed when it happened again. Renovation works were being carried out on the 13th century Torre de Conte near the Colosseum. Hundreds of tourists watching on as firefighters used a cherry picker to rescue several workers. One stuck in the collapsed structure for almost 12 hours before being freed by rescue crews, a Rome official saying, the person was responsive. Unfortunately, the man later died.
At the Joint Security Area yesterday, Pete Hegseth, U.S. Secretary of Defense, and Ang Yu-bak, South Korea's defense minister, toured the border zone ahead of the 57th Security Consultative meeting. The visit symbolized renewed U.S. ROK military solidarity and set the scene for talks on wartime command transfer and alliance modernization.
The defense chiefs of South Korea and the United States visited the demilitarized zone along the North Korean border on Monday, marking the first joint visit by the defense chiefs of the two countries in 8 years. During the meeting, they received a briefing on current operations at Observation Post Olet, located just 25 meters from the military demarcation line, and later visited the conference facility at the JSA Inter-Korean Troops Village of Panmunjom. Minister An highlighted the DMZ's role and emphasized the significance of the visit.
The DMZ is the very front line, but it's also where the Panmunjom Declaration was signed and where the meeting between President Trump and Kim Jong-un took place. Because of this dual nature, It carries great symbolic significance.
This event set the stage for Tuesday's 57th Security Consultative Meeting, the highest level South Korea-U.S. defense consultative body for discussing and coordinating major military policies. Top agenda items that are likely to be discussed during the meeting include South Korea's pursuit of nuclear-powered submarines, wartime operational control transition, increase in defense spending, and U.S. forces' strategic flexibility. Discussions on nuclear-powered submarines will build upon last week's Gyeongju summit, where President Lee Jae-myung called for the production of nuclear propulsion vessels, and U.S. President Donald Trump gave his approval. Defense budget increases are also likely to be on the agenda, as South Korea plans to raise spending to 3.5% of GDP by 2035, reportedly with U.S. support. Strategic flexibility for U.S. forces in Korea is expected to reaffirm the 2006 joint statement, balancing global roles while respecting Seoul's stance against regional involvement without public consent. At a military committee meeting held earlier, the Joint Chiefs reported meaningful progress on the transfer of operational control and agreed that deterrence should extend beyond the peninsula to regional stability. Today's meeting's outcomes are expected to reaffirm the two countries' partnership amid evolving North Korean threats and Indo-Pacific dynamics.
The United States has formally requested the United Nations Security Council impose sanctions on 7 vessels allegedly used to export coal and iron ore from North Korea to China in direct violations of existing UN bans. The move underscores Washington's concern that proceeds are funding Pyongyang's nuclear and missile programs.
The United States has moved to impose new sanctions on 7 ships accused of violating United Nations Security Council resolutions by smuggling North Korean coal and iron ore. According to Reuters, Washington will soon ask the UN North Korea Sanctions Committee to blacklist the vessels, which allegedly transported the banned minerals to China and other destinations. A senior U.S. official said North Korea earns between $200 and $400 million annually through such illegal exports, which are used to fund its nuclear and missile programs. The official also revealed that in May and June, a North Korean vessel named Shinpyeong 6 transferred coal to a Sierra Leone-flagged ship called Fly Free on the high seas, later offloading at China's Weifang port. However, to enact the sanctions, all UN Security Council members must agree unanimously. But with China and Russia both having close diplomatic ties to Pyongyang and holding veto powers, the proposal faces steep obstacles. If adopted, the 7 ships could be barred from entering ports worldwide, and related shipping firms or individuals could face asset freezes and travel bans. Analysts say the move underscores Washington's effort to tighten financial pressure on the Kim Jong-un regime amid renewed concerns over North Korea's weapons development and deepening ties with Moscow and Beijing.
Let's go in for a short commercial break. More world news coming right after this. And welcome back. In Israel, former military advocate General Yifat Tomer Yerushalmi has been arrested after admitting she authorized leak of a video showing alleged abusive treatment of a Palestinian detainee by soldiers at the state-manned detention facility. Her resignation and disappearance triggered a national storm over accountability and military transparency.
It began with a leaked video showing IDF soldiers assaulting a Palestinian detainee in 2024. Israel's top former military lawyer Yifat Tomer Yerushalmi resigned on Friday claiming responsibility, but the story took a darker turn when she went missing for hours on Sunday. The police say she's since been found and taken into custody under arrest.
I can say that she's been located following a prolonged search. She is currently with our police officers and soldiers for a medical examination, after which she will be brought to the police station.
The leaked video was aired last year by Israel's Channel 12, showing IDF soldiers at the State Haman detention center allegedly beating and sodomizing a Palestinian detainee from Gaza. The facility is notorious for its reported frequent beatings of Palestinians by prison guards, scant food and dismal conditions, and has been called abusive by many human rights groups. The investigation led to criminal charges against 5 soldiers and sparked an international outcry. Meanwhile, hardline Israeli ultranationalists say Tomer Yerushalmi's actions betrayed the state, with Benjamin Netanyahu saying the video had caused immense damage to the image of Israel.
This is perhaps the most severe public relations attack that the State of Israel has experienced since its establishment. This demands an independent, impartial investigation, and I expect such an investigation will be carried out.
Defense Minister Israel Katz has called the video a fabrication, adding that investigations will continue into those involved in the decision to leak the video.
In eastern Ukraine's strategic city of Pokrovsk, which has endured year-long fighting, the Donetsk region transport hub, the Russian defense ministry says its forces have advanced into the railway station and industrial zone. Meanwhile, Ukrainian commanders insist their defenders remain in control despite the pressure.
Russian media refers to it as the gateway to Donetsk, and the Russian military now claims to have captured it. The city of Pokrovsk in the east has become a focal point in Russia's campaign, with these images purporting to show attacks on a neighbouring town. If confirmed, the capture would be the most important Russian territorial gain of the year. Ukraine rejects Russia's claim, saying its troops are holding on to the city despite difficult conditions. Kyiv has deployed special forces there to push back on what it calls an intense Russian assault.
20% of Russia's artillery goes to Pokrovsk. So you can understand how difficult it is for us. Up to 300 Russian troops are in the city. Our 425th Assault Regiment is working inside Pokrovsk and is engaged in quite intense combat operations.
Another focus for Russia, Ukraine's power grid as the days get darker and colder. Kyiv's national energy operator says several regions faced rolling power cuts on Sunday as a result of targeted Russian attacks, like one in Zaporizhia, where 58,000 homes were plunged into darkness. Facing a fourth winter of blackouts, millions of Ukrainians are preparing for hardship, their president warning that Vladimir Putin is orchestrating a humanitarian disaster.
In Western Sudan's Darfur region, the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces has seized control of El Fasher after an 18-month siege, triggering reports of mass killings, sexual violence and exodus of thousands of civilians. The International Criminal Court is now gathering evidence of war crimes amidst accusations of external backing.
Just over a week after El Fasher was captured by paramilitary Rapid Support Forces, thousands of refugees who managed to flee the besieged city have set up camp about 80 kilometers to the west.
I've never heard gunfire as heavy as that before.
Survivors have told horrifying stories of what happened when the Rapid Support Forces seized control of El Fasher on the 26th of October, which include accounts of mass executions and rape. The prosecutor's office at the International Criminal Court now warns those atrocities could constitute war crimes and crimes against humanity. Before the war, 1.5 million people lived in El Fasher, and while the UN estimates more than 65,000 have fled the city, it fears tens of thousands remain trapped, with humanitarian groups like the Red Cross unable to reach them.
It's history repeating, and it becomes worse every time a place is taken over by the other party, and there's just no restraint in what these weapon bearers do, and this is what I find most concerning.
The violence is reminiscent of 2 decades ago when the Arab origin militia that gave rise to the RSF was accused of committing a genocide against the people of Darfur, many warning another genocide is now unfolding. At the UN, Sudan's ambassador has pointed the finger at the United Arab Emirates, accusing it of financing the Rapid Support Forces. And while it continues to deny its implication, reports show it has provided crucial logistical support to the paramilitary fighters who conducted the assault on El Fasher.
In the western Mexican state of Urupan, Carlos Alberto Manzo Rodriguez, mayor of the city of Michoacan, known for his outspoken stance against gangs, was shot dead during a candlelit Day of the Dead event. Authorities say a suspect opened fire in front of dozens, leaving the region once again exposed to brutal politics and cartel violence.
Carlos Manzo's funeral cortege proceeded under heavy police guard on Sunday. The mayor of Uruapan, a city of 350,000 people, was shot dead on Saturday night. He is pictured here a few minutes before his assassination holding his son. Manzo was taking part in Day of the Dead celebrations, one of the most important Mexican holidays. The sound of firecrackers gave way to gunfire, which sent crowds scurrying. The mayor collapsed, having been hit. First responders tried in vain to revive him. Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum paid tribute on social media.
I condemn in the strongest possible terms the despicable assassination of the mayor of Uruapan, Carlos Manzo. We reaffirm our commitment to putting all the state's efforts into achieving peace and security, with zero impunity and with respect for justice.
Carlos Manzo was a fierce opponent of cartel violence which has plagued his home state of Michoacán in the west of the country. An investigation is underway to establish who ordered the killing.
No line of investigation is being ruled out in order to shed light on the cowardly act that took the mayor's life. We are in constant communication with the Michoacán state government and have intensified efforts to strengthen security in Uruapan and the region.
Mayors and municipal councillors have become prime targets of drug cartels in recent years in Mexico, with up to 60 political figures being assassinated during last year's election campaign alone.
Time for a short break now. We'll be right back with more world news. And welcome back. In a historic move, New Mexico will begin offering new universal, no-cost childcare to all resident families, regardless of income. Officials say it marks the first time a U.S. state has removed income eligibility entirely for childcare access.
The parents of these children and every child in New Mexico will no longer have to pay for their care starting next week, regardless of income.
Basically, on average in New Mexico, it's about $12,000 a year.
Teachers Hannah Meyerly and Nathan Herzog know that math all too well. They pay more than $14,000 a year for their toddler, Atticus.
It is all of the leftover budget that we have.
Yeah, it's second to our mortgage.
The plan is paid for by New Mexico's oil and gas revenues. Nationwide, about 67% of women with children under 5 are in the labor force, a number that's declined over the past few years. The program goes beyond covering the cost. It's expanding who can provide care, licensing more facilities, including qualified family members, to meet demand. For Meyerly and Herzog, it's a chance to think beyond their next paycheck.
It gives us some relief.
It's the first time that we can really start thinking about how do I prepare for Atticus's future.
A bold experiment in early education and a test of whether investing in families can help an entire state grow.
In Dallas, couples are turning their courthouse ceremonies into joyous celebrations thanks to Adam Swartz, the Justice of the Peace, who presides at the busy JP 3-1 court. His welcoming style transforms what might be a routine legal formality into festive moments of love and cheer, and it's gaining nationwide notice.
When couples come before Dallas Judge Adam Swartz to say, "I do," it's more than a legal ceremony.
You can kiss your bride.
With booming beats and billowing bubbles, it's a bona fide bash.
If I can lean into one of the best moments of somebody's life, maybe they will too.
Judge Swartz keeps a stash of bubble guns behind the bench. After some 3,000 weddings, Judge Swartz is internet famous. Brides and grooms posting proof justice can sparkle.
You can kiss the bride.
Newlyweds Chelsea and James happily caught off guard. A judge who spends his days signing eviction orders because in this courtroom, love is the verdict and joy is justice served.
And with that, we come to the end of today's edition of World News Tonight. With the hopes of seeing you again, I'm Marsha Fernando, and we leave you tonight with the visuals of Egypt unveiling a grand new era of antiquity preservation. Also, don't forget to send us your feedback through email at feedback.adncenglish@derana.lk or via WhatsApp at 076-805-7933. Thank you for watching World News Tonight on Other Derana News Channel. Have a good night.